Welcome to the Encouragement Engineering Podcast, where we help people to combat the negativity that inundates our daily lives by helping them to see a positive perspective and positive actions in their lives. Today's guest is Erin McCullough. Erin has been consulting businesses and business leaders for 16 years, has been an entrepreneur for 21 years. She has learned things the hard way and doesn't want another business leader to have to. And thank you for that. She's uniquely qualified to help you get started, clearly defining your goals in a matter of minutes and creating a path to getting them and helping you to see what obstacles may be standing in your way and how to rid yourself of those obstacles. Erin is an expert in helping people overcome and prevent anxiety, worry, and being overwhelmed. 3 pillars to what a lot of business owners and leaders experience by being in charge. It is possible to do business with ease, purpose, and meaning and still be successful. Erin has been in the trenches and done it both ways and doesn't want another day to go by where leaders are stressed and overwhelmed, not when there is a better, more proven way. Erin is a culmination of mindset and business, the 2 keys to success. So please welcome to the show, Erin McCullough. Erin, thank you for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, Bob. I love talking about this stuff, and anytime I can help entrepreneurs, because we're crazy and we deserve the help because we're doing all the things. And yeah, encouragement is much needed, especially when, you're running the show and it's all the things to do.
It's lonely at the top, right?
It can be, or it can seem that way, certainly.
Yeah.
And that was definitely my experience for many, many years in business. And that's why I do what I do, because, running a bunch of employees, staff around and clients and doing all those things. And I mean, I literally was all the things. It took me about 10 years into my business. And my family came to live in my area, and they were just like, you can hire people to do some of these things. And I was like, they're like, you think you have a small business, but you have a big business here. You have 20 plus employees and you've got hundreds of clients. What are you doing?
Yeah, really. That's not a small potato option here. So, well, tell us more about that. Tell us about, how you got to where you are. I mean, 20 employees, that's a good size organization. Tell us how you got there. What's your story?
Well, so interestingly enough, I'll start with the anxiety piece only because that's where my story started. I had an anxiety disorder, and it took me years to figure out why that happened. But a lot of the strategies I teach work for people. I mean, you don't have to have an anxiety disorder, but, we're overwhelmed. There's a lot of stress. Certainly this year's been very challenging. There's some strategies that you can use to overcome some of these things. But I had that happen for me, and I wanted a simpler life. So I moved to Hawaii, and I had 3 things on my list of what I was going to do. I was going to smell a plumeria every day. I don't know if you know what kind of, that's a flower.
Yeah. It's the one to make the leis out of, isn't it?
Yeah, the white and yellow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have those in Florida.
Oh, sweet. Okay, yeah. So that was on goal 1. I was going to work part-time, and I was going to work for myself so that I could dictate the amount of time I was spending, the amount of stress I was willing to take on. And so I immediately started my business 24 hours in because this is who I am. I literally I met my sister. She picked me up from the airport, and we went back to her place. And she was like, let's go play some pool. We went to the pool, and I met this person at the bar, and he was like, I'm looking for somebody to help me start a business. And I was like, well, I got some time on my hands. Maybe I can do that. So it literally started there. I started with this gentleman. He wanted to start a car wash there, and there's a lot of environmental issues. So he needed to do some background information, what was acceptable and allowed there on the island. So I did all that, and I showed him how to start a business, all the paperwork and all the things he needed to do. And I was like, this is interesting. Then I put an ad in the paper. I'm dating myself.
Yeah,
now.
I was going to say, for those that you don't know, there used to be newspapers. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what you did if you wanted to get a job. You peruse the newspaper, or you put an ad in. So my ad read, hire a housewife, will cook, clean, run errands, etc. Right? And so you can imagine I got some very interesting calls, but I did actually get some clients from it. So I got a client that I started cooking for, and he was training for a special event, swimming meet, and he needed to follow this specific diet. And so he gave me the diet, and I cooked for him bulk and brought it over to his house. So as it turns out, I started 2 businesses at the same time. So I started this catering business.
Yeah.
I had no business starting. And then I got hired by a gentleman out in one of the resort areas that needed somebody part-time. He wanted to start a business. So I helped him because now I had that skill.
Yeah.
I had helped this other guy do that. So I helped him start that business. And he also needed somebody to do some grocery shopping for him and to cook for him. So I did that part-time. So that's sort of how it got started. And then that first gentleman, he actually was in the construction industry, and he said, I see on your ad that you do cleaning. I'm running this big construction project. Can you do the construction cleaning? Would you, do you want this contract? And I was like, I don't know how to do construction cleaning. And he said, well, you can learn on the job. I'll get you the contract. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
So I hired my sister, and the 2 of us cleaned this enormous retirement center all by ourselves.
Wow.
Learned on the job. And then lo and behold, I had a construction cleaning company. So I thought, well, there was some money in this. I should go. There's tons of construction going on. This is in like 2000.
Okay.
So I started just walking on construction sites with my card going, I have a construction cleaning business. Will you hire me? And I got hired, and I started getting hired for these multi-6-figure contracts on these commercial buildings. And I went immediately from my sister and I to like 18 employees on one site and 6 to 8 on another site. And I mean, it was just like, it just happened like that. And then I thought, well, there's other kinds of cleaning. Maybe we should get into some of the other things. And so we started to do some residential, and I sort of figured that out. And then I thought, there's all these high-end homes, multi-million-dollar homes being built. I should go and walk on those job sites and say, hey, we do construction cleaning. And then after doing many of those homes, the homeowners liked what we did, and they said, do you do residential cleaning? And we were like, of course we do residential cleaning, right?
Well,
So
explain, if you could,
like
if I could break in there just for a few minutes, explain what construction cleaning is, because I think that may be vague to some people.
So construction cleaning is after the subcontractors are finished building, we would come in and literally wipe every inch of the building down so that it was inhabitable. So no more dust, no more sawdust, no heavy lifting or anything like that. Just cleaning out all the cabinets and getting all the stuff off the floors and that sort of thing.
The paint drops and the
paint,
the drywall dust.
And
it's everywhere. Yes.
Painters.
Okay. And that's when you talk about some of these office buildings. I mean, that goes all over the place, and great fortitude there, because you saw, I always think of the Sprocket in that Disney movie, see a need, fill a need. And you went out and you did that, and you just started asking people. And I think that's important for people to understand, is ask. You don't know. I mean, I think so many times today people have trepidation because, they put that negative Nancy going through their head. And it's, they may say this, they may say that. I don't know about you, but I'm not a mind reader. So we don't know what somebody's going to say until we ask. And that's exactly what you did. And look what it did for you.
It was huge. I had that business for 18 years. I was able to sell it for, it went into bidding wars and all kinds of things. And that was also a wonderful ride. And I learned a whole lot the hard way, as I mentioned in the bio. And it's not necessary to learn that way. Not when, people like myself and like yourself have been in business, have done some things and know a different way. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
Well, and I think that's a good reminder for people, because so many times it doesn't matter what it is. Somebody's already done it. All we're doing is adapting to what's already been done. Tesla did that. The car has been around for 100 years. They just adapted something and made it a little different. And then what's crazy about that, everything's open source for them. Their blueprints and everything are out on the internet if you really wanted to build a Tesla or another electric vehicle. And I think we need to remember that people have gone before us and done similar things. We can modify it and make it better. And so why not try? What are some of the hard lessons you learned?
Well, I kind of want to go back to that thing you just said, because people come to me with all their big ideas, right? Because that's what I do is I encourage people to do the things. Yeah. But, I'm talking, I encourage people to do the things that matter to them, not just monetarily, because who cares? You can go get a 6-figure job in a company if you wanted as an entrepreneur. If you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, you're that skilled, right? People that don't have those kinds of skill sets, that can't troubleshoot things, that aren't highly successful on a lot of different fronts, do not become entrepreneurs because it's way too hard.
It's not organized by any means. You're all over the place.
That's right. That's right.
You kind of have to have a bit of ADD, and know OSD. You can't have OSD or whatever where you're, everything's got to be in a certain way, certain thing.
But what you were saying is like people get, well, this already exists or that, I'm like, they're still inventing new toilet paper. Toilet paper's been around for a long time. It's like, if you got an idea and you're passionate about it and you're willing to put in some effort and energy towards whatever it is you want, it doesn't matter if it already exists. It doesn't exist how it exists for you. And that's the same as like, there's a ton of coaches out there. Am I the coach for every person, every business person? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak to all those people. I am going to speak to the people that can hear me now. And knowing that doesn't make me stop being a coach. It just makes me realize that I want a sliver of all that's out there. I don't want, we get like all caught up in like, I want to have 100% of the marketplace. You don't want 100%. No. You can't handle 100%. Yeah. So you just want your piece, right? I just want to work with people that when I'm speaking, they hear what I'm saying. We are at the same crossroads. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. And that goes for anybody starting a business in whatever industry. Because if you are chasing after the dollar or the client, rather than getting very clear about who you are and what your unique proposition is, then you're wasting your time in the wrong area. So you want to work on you and making sure you're so 100% in and clear on what you're doing, the service you're providing. That way your people can find you.
Yeah. You bring up a great point, because I know they talk about that, on LinkedIn, and that's one that they say, build your profile. Make sure you do that right, because just like what you're talking about, build it for you and what specifically you're looking for. And that's not going to happen overnight necessarily. That's going to be something you need to create. You rewrite it, look at it, understand it, go over it with others, see what they think. And it's a process. It's not something that's one and done. Check that box off next. And it's interesting you mentioned that, because that is something if you're going to be doing this type of, if you will, work, it's not really work because it's a passion. And when it's a passion, you figure these things out, and it's just part of the process. It's not a chore. It's not a task. It's just part of the process. Is that something you see in when you coach people?
Yeah. There are going to be tasks that you do that are not exciting or sexy.
Just like
I can't tell you how many houses I cleaned. Having a house cleaning and a property management business, like there was a lot of Cinderella moments, let me just tell you. And I just go, what? But ultimately, I always kept in mind, like, what is my biggest why? Like, what is underlying, not the like monetary, the time flexibility, all that stuff. Of course you want that. And that is exactly why you start having a business. I'm talking about the deeper why. Like, what are you bringing to this world? Like, what's your legacy? Who are you? What do you have to offer as a person? And then who's that going to affect? Your family, people you care about, all that. like we don't bring this stuff to the forefront often enough, daily, all
Right.
day long. And when you keep that forefront and you're in the middle of, you know, doing lead generation or whatever you're doing that's not sexy and exciting, then you can remember like why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I have passion behind it. I have a unique gift because I am a unique person that I am bringing to this world. And it matters to me because I can affect people on a deep level. So you have I mean, like when I'm coaching with people, it's like bring that to the forefront at all times,
Right.
especially
And
when you're not feeling good about it.
well, and that's a key thing too, because we're all going to have things that go on in our life. You've had things, I've had things, and every day something can happen, but we get the opportunity to wake up, and that's a great start. And we need to focus with that idea that, okay, we got that opportunity. What's the best painting we're going to paint on this canvas we have that's called today? What's the best thing we can do? And that's a part of us. That's a part of what we do. It's a part of, you know, how it affects other people. And I think that's important to share that with the world, is that greatness. Do you see people that maybe they start out and then do you see a spark that all of a sudden occurs, or is it the process? Have you seen those two type of things where it's, you know, both a process as well as maybe there's one trigger that all of a sudden somebody trips on and they're going?
No, I mean, I do see it in that way, but a lot of the stuff you know, in terms of the work that I do with people, a lot of it is internal, right?
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
really about making that internal environment impenetrable, right?
Right.
So it's like, how do I find, because I was just listening to somebody the other day explain very succinctly the difference between happiness and joy, which sounds like a weird conversation, but the reality is happiness is an external.
Yeah.
So that's based on an external event. So that's like, oh, I got a new car. I'm happy for the moment, right?
Yeah.
Or for me, I was always just kind of on fire in every part of my life, right? Like physically, like I was, you know, the next thing, I'm going to do this triathlon, then I'm going to
Right.
do an Ironman, then I'm going to do this, right? So I was like, oh, train, cross the finish line, happy, next race,
Nice.
right? That's happiness.
Yeah.
Joy is an internal experience. That's when you inside understand that I am the one that is in charge of the experience that I'm having. And so if that's the case, if I'm in charge of the experience I'm having, that means I can choose to be happy, not happy, but joyful, or I can choose a lot of the other things, stress and worry and all those things, right?
Right.
And I bring that up because as entrepreneurs, like that is kind of the crux of what is this up. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but this was me all over the place all the
Right.
time, right? And so what I wanted to share with your audience is that when we can understand first the difference between happiness and joy and recognize that joy is an internal experience and that we're in charge of that experience,
I love
and
that.
then show strategies about how to create that experience, then it really doesn't matter what's going on outside, right? You still
Exactly.
go towards whatever
Yeah.
you're passionate about, you still do the things, but you're like okay on the inside, right? So that means that you're not at the mercy of people or circumstances to make you feel any way. You get to decide and you go from there. And so what I was thinking to tell you and your audience was, one of the ways to create that is by having a very specific practice first in the morning, right?
Okay.
I mean, to start your
Yeah.
day off in a good space so that
Yeah.
you can crush it from moment one, right? A lot of times we get, you know, fire drill out of bed, whatever's going on, alarm went off,
Yeah.
and, you know, all the things, right, that don't feel all that great. But when we get intentional about starting our day in a way that is joyful and, you know, you can fuel that passion in your, you know, in your, I was going to say job, no, in your business,
Yeah.
then you can at least start there. And then throughout the day, you know, this is the stuff that I talk about with clients is starting the day, you know, at a 10.
Yeah.
And then when things start to go down or
And
something
they
doesn't
will.
go
Yeah.
right, yeah, what are some of the strategies that you can just reroute yourself right back into, right?
Right.
So you can
And
imagine if you get the internal piece all managed,
yeah.
then you can recognize when it's going south and go, oh, okay, I'm in charge of me internally. I'm going to reset.
And that's a great point because, we can get up and it's a beautiful day, the birds are singing, whatever may be. And we, like you said, crush it in the morning, get that focused energy, get that your mantras, your thankfulness, whatever it may be, your prayers out of the way in the morning. And then you're going to have things that come up. One phone call and your day can go right down into the toilet. It happens. Okay. But we have to, like you said, that control is so critical. And I mentioned that to people too. Go outside and just look around. In Florida, we get the opportunity to have green trees and sunshine. Look around, enjoy that. I'm originally from Detroit. We didn't have that all the time in the winter. You had these gray, drab days, and it was like, but you got to have something that just gets that spark re-energized because, yeah, the opportunity you have in front of you called life is so great, and we can do anything. We all have greatness within us, and that opportunity, if it's not there now, it's going to come about. That's a belief, it's a hope. I think that's important for people to realize too, is that having that hope. And I see that not only have you lived that, but you share that with your clientele probably, is the opportunity of that self-direction, and that gives them hope. Do you see that as a pattern for them?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And it teaches them, I mean, strategically, like watching my clients go through managing just life different. I mean, you make any kind of change you make in your life affects all parts of your life. And if
Right.
you think that you have this idea of business and personal separated, especially as an entrepreneur, you are sadly mistaken
We're
because
all people.
we're complex. All things are involved. And so just, it's okay.
Yeah.
But just know that, like, you know, encourage yourself to look outside of yourself, like, yes, you're capable, you're an entrepreneur, you're doing all the things, but continue to seek new knowledge and information, whether it's through coaching or programs or a book or whatever, so that you can continue to grow. Because it's a bit like, I always say, like, if you're inside of the jar, you can't see the ingredients. So, like, we're so
That's
close
good.
to
I
ourselves,
like
we
that. Yeah.
cannot see
Yeah.
what is the thing that's tripping us up.
Right.
But I wanted to share with you like a little focusing exercise that
Sure.
I
That'd be
like to
great.
share with people. Would that be all right?
That would be great.
Yeah, because I know sometimes we can just crush the mornings, and then the afternoon we get a little bit that focus.
3 o'clock is just, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're like, oh, should I have another cup of coffee? What can I do?
Yeah.
I would like to say about that though, there is this thing where, certainly we want to find balance, right? Because, we can do business, and now we do at home everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So we could do business everywhere all the time. It's available to us. There's always something to do, right? I
Right.
mean, is there, like, I can't even think of a time where there wasn't something I could be doing.
Right.
But we have to get out of that mindset and recognize that in order for us to fully be here now with all the things and live a very fulfilled life, working all the time is not a good
No.
exchange. The exchange is, if you decide that you want to work all the time, is that you take away from your family and friends and
Right.
quality time for yourself, just your own self-care and all those things. And those are all super important, because when we get on our deathbed, we're not thinking, I wish I had made more money. I wish I
No.
had worked more. We're not thinking those things, right?
Yeah.
We're thinking, I wish I had deep, meaningful relationships with people, and I had more memories with them doing those things that were incredible, right?
Yeah.
So let's keep that in mind every day and try to separate out, certainly if it's, it's a good idea for it to be a passion thing, right? That you're
Right.
doing, if you're going to spend all this time doing it. But also recognize that there's still time, right? And so one of the mantras I like to share with entrepreneurs is, I have all the time in the world.
Okay. All right.
So when you start to feel a little rushed and like, oh my God, there's all the things I got to do, I have all the time in the world. Is it true? No, it's not true, but it gives your body the opportunity to just slow down.
Right.
So just take a deep breath. I have all the time in the world. Then I don't have to rush around. I don't have to get upset by traffic, and I don't have to get upset by people not responding, and I don't have to do all the things. But the focus exercise is this. So if you have a plant or even nature, like I have a window here, I can look right out, or I have plants in my house. The idea is to just focus in on the one thing. So I have a poinsettia right here on my desk, and I look at the poinsettia and I look at the leaves. I mean, I'm talking like really look at it and be in wonder, like, where did all those veins come from? Why is it red?
Yeah.
Why is part of it green? Well, look at these incredible little buds. Look at all of that, right? So what that does is that brings you into the present moment. So you can't be anywhere else but at that poinsettia. Like I'm looking at the poinsettia, I'm looking at the leaf, like how did it evolve this way? You know, all those questions, right? And that just gives you a reset so that you can just go, okay, done looking at the poinsettia, back at my computer. What do I need to do? Right? And we need those things because, and that's the other thing is like, get up from your desk.
Yes. Yeah.
Often.
Yes.
You know, not like, I mean, sometimes I love what I do. And when I'm working with clients, I mean, I get excited, right? Yeah. And so some days I'll look up and I'll go, oh my God, I've been sitting at my desk for like 4 hours straight. I got to get up, you know, and move around and like move your body and take deep intentional breathing. Like breathe, you know, we get so like tight and where am I tight in my body? Relax.
Right.
Everybody relax. Take a deep breath. It's okay.
And it doesn't take long to, it doesn't take long to do that. Like you said, a few minutes, you can get up and walk around. If you're on the phone, it doesn't have to be a video call. You could be on the phone. When I'm on the phone, I'm walking. I'm moving. I don't like sitting when I'm on the phone. I've always kind of been that way. And it helps, you know, in between calls, do a few push-ups or some type of exercise. Right. Go outside and enjoy the, you know, the outdoors for a little bit if you can. Play with the dog, play with the, you know, your pet, something. Great ideas. I love that idea with the poinsettia because it shifts your mind. So your mind's instead of, okay, numbers, or whatever you may be doing, all of a sudden you're like, huh? And it makes that break, if you will. So great idea. Great example there. And wow, you bring a lot of, I love your quote there too about, you know, how to shift, and just a lot of good information with what you're talking about to remind people of, let's, you know, be real with this. We don't, like you said, breathe. Okay. Stop and breathe. Okay. People are forgetting to breathe. That's crazy. And they're all tense. And it's
I mean, you can imagine if you bring the kind of energy, like excited energy to your business, like,
well, people look at you weird.
Yeah. It's felt though, right? I mean, you can feel when somebody's super negative, they don't even have to say anything. And you're just like, oh, I don't want to be around that person. Right. And you can also feel like when people are super excited, like I want to be around that person. They're interesting and they're saying maybe some crazy stuff, but like they're excited about it. So that's cool, you know? And so like be that person, you know, be that one, because that's what attracts to you the people that you want to hang out with. Like I don't take any clients unless I would sit down and have a meal with them because I know I would have a good conversation and they're nice people. You know, like I don't just take anybody. If I don't feel like I could sit down and have a good meal with them and have a nice conversation, it doesn't even have to be about business or anything. Just, are they nice people? Do we meet on some level? Otherwise, it's a waste. And I encourage everybody to get so clear on who it is you're serving so that you can attract that person. And when the people that show up that aren't that person show up, you can just say no right out of the gate and not stress yourself out trying to become something that you're not for them.
Yeah, you are allowed to say no in life. It is your life. So you can say no. A lot of people have a hard time with that.
And honestly, like, I mean, let's get real. This moment right now is the only moment we're guaranteed. You know, people who've lost people instantly in car accidents or heart attacks, whatever, they get this concept.
Oh yeah.
They may not live it, but this, if we truly believed that this was the truth, we would live our lives very differently. You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to tell you to breathe. I wouldn't have to tell you to get up and do things and make time for the people that you love. I wouldn't have to tell you those things because you would go, this is the only moment. Am I saying ditch, like, you know, your home because you can't pay for it? No,
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, be in every moment, because every moment counts, and we have no guarantee how many more moments we have. So if
Right.
that's the truth, let's live every moment as though it matters, because it does.
It does. It definitely does. Well, where can people find out more information about you and get a hold of you via webpage or social media?
So I am a huge fan of Instagram. I
Okay.
love Instagram. It let's see. Yeah. So my handle is Erin, ERIN MACLLC on Instagram. So that's one way.
Yeah.
I love people to engage. I post videos all the time with just strategies on all kinds of things for everybody.
Cool.
And then you can also find me on my website, which is erin-mac.com.
Great.
And there's all, you know, videos and all kinds of stuff on there as well. But I love the engagement on Instagram and also LinkedIn, of course.
Yeah.
Erin Mac LLC on LinkedIn. I post on all of those, and I'd love to have the engagement. If you feel like there's something that you want to know about, or that I can speak to, or if there's just a ton of free content. So.
Well, awesome, because you know, we'll have all that in the show notes as well. But I mean, some great information, some great reminders for people. I do have a few more questions for you, some quick questions, if you will, or just fun questions that I think are always, you know, is round out, if you will. Do you prefer dogs or cats?
Ooh, that's tough. I have a dog now. I like cats because they're less they're less of a pain, but they're also not, they can be very fickle.
Yeah. All right. What's your favorite movie, or a favorite movie?
Ooh, I loved The Piano. I love The Sound of Music is my all-time favorite movie.
Okay.
In fact, I haven't watched it. It's the season.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it.
yeah, that's a good time to watch it. Good reminder. Pepsi or Coke?
I don't drink soda, but
Okay.
I loved Coke a lot when I was younger.
All right. And if you got 30 minutes to talk to a historical figure, who would you talk to?
That is a good question. Maybe Gandhi or Mother Teresa.
Okay.
Buddha would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, get the big ones. You know, I understand. You know, I figure if I'm going for him, I'm going for Jesus. You know, and talk to the source.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King would be an interesting conversation for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's so many.
There definitely is. Thank you so much for your tips today. Thank you so much for what you do. We're going to put all your contact information in the show notes as well, so be looking for that when we post this. And I really appreciate your time today.
Oh my gosh, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having platforms like this. It's really important for entrepreneurs to have outlets, because again, it's that lonely at the top thing, and we got to encourage each other to make sure that we're like doing the things, because don't give up.
No.
It'll happen. It just, sometimes it takes a little time, and just keep, finding, platforms like this to encourage you to keep doing that thing that that you're here to do.
Awesome. Thank you for that piece of advice. And we look forward to hearing more from you in the future. So thanks again, Erin, for your time today.
Thanks, Bob.
All right.